Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jake from TNJ, and make sure you hit that like button. Now we're here to the recruiting episode. You guys don't want to miss this one. There's a lot in this video. High school highlights, recruiting highlights, strengths, weaknesses, going over what we need. I mean, there's a lot in this video. You guys don't want to miss it. So first, let's just talk about, before hopping into the episode, let's just talk about just recruiting in general. So I want to make this realistic, and let's just talk about San Jose State and their history. They've never had a 5-star recruit, so 5-star recruits are out of the question. We're not going after 5-star recruits until we're probably a 5-star prestige, because that only makes sense, right? And then let's talk about 4-star recruits. So they've only had about a handful of 4-star recruits. I think they've had about 6 or 7 in their entire football program. So that's just going to give you the baseline of what kind of players we're going to go after to keep this realistic. 3 stars is going to be the max, but these are custom recruits. If you submitted a custom recruit from the Coastal Carolina Dynasty, it's getting carried over into this first season. And then come next year, we'll have the sign-ups. It'll be at a later episode, so you don't want to miss that one. But let's just hop into this episode. I hope you guys enjoy. There's a lot of work that gets put into this episode, so let's hop into it. So one of the disadvantages of being such a small school and being a 1-star school is that a lot of guys just don't have interest. We visited Reggie Garcia in San Diego, California. He's a pretty good middle linebacker. He's number 58 ranked in the nation, and he's a 3-star guy, but he just didn't have interest in coming to San Jose. Out of all schools, he actually wants to go to Minnesota. That kind of surprised me a little bit, but that's what he wants to do. He's actually a pretty strong middle linebacker, but he passed on SJSU. So then we focus our recruiting trail on Lucky Davis, a running back out of Glendale, Arizona. And unfortunately, he did not want to come to our school. At 5'9", 190, we thought he would be kind of a scat back, and he just didn't have interest in us, mostly because of the program tradition. You see, it's a deal breaker. And he's the number 625 ranked player in the nation at 3 stars. And I thought he was going to be a pretty good fit, but it just turns out that he just didn't have interest. And it's a shame, because I actually liked him. I went to a couple of his games, and it just turned out that we kind of wasted our time recruiting him, and he just didn't have the interest to come to the school. But you can see with his highlights, he has the breakaway speed, and he was a guy that could have fit, but in the end, it honestly just didn't work out for us. So before hopping into our actual recruiting board, we have 23 recruits added to our board. And here's the thing. I wanted to add a pipeline state to this recruiting class, but I don't know if we'll have the firepower. Pretty much we started kind of late, because we accepted this job and a lot of other schools had a leg up on recruiting. So hopefully we can get enough recruits, maybe in the state of Colorado. We'll see some prospects from Colorado. That was kind of the state that I was focusing in on more than other states, but California is a pipeline state, and we just want to acquire another one. It'll help us out a lot in recruiting going forward. So looking at our map, you can see where we're recruiting at, mostly in California, but we do have a few in Colorado. We have actually one in Minnesota, one in Texas, and a few on the East Coast. We still have that pipeline kind of connection, not a pipeline state, but that connection to the East Coast, since we did come over from Coastal Carolina, and we're going to try to pull in some of the guys we work recruiting there and try to bring them into California. So I want to start out talking about another recruit in Colorado at running back, Joaden McElroy. He's 5'11", 228. He is a monster of a running back, and quite honestly, he might be a little out of our league. He has pretty good speed as a power back, and he just pushes forward. It's just so impressive. I went to a couple of his games, and you can see here the Littleton High School. He's pretty good. I mean, when he gets the ball, it's constant push forward. And look at his block. He follows his blocks, breaks tackles. He just has that, unlimited power, it seems like. You can see, look at him. He's pushing through tackles on pretty much everybody that's trying to take him down. And maybe he's a little bit too out of our league, and he is kind of a 4-star recruit. We said we weren't going to go after 4 stars, and we're not. But this guy was a custom recruit. We kind of had interest in him, but it just turns out that it might be a little too much for us. Staying in the state of Colorado, Kyle Little, Ken Carroll, Colorado, the number 33 ranked strong safety, and this guy's a thumper. I think he reminds me of a bigger TJ Ward, and he plays up in the box. He actually has pretty good coverage skills as well. He's in the high 70s in zone coverage, but we're in kind of a recruiting battle with him, and I just don't know if we will pull it out, to be honest. Like I said, it's pretty hard to recruit as a one-star school. Guys just don't respect you coming out of high school until you actually do something, but you can see that hit there. He just puts the boom on that receiver, and that's kind of what he was just built off of. Big hits, making big plays on defense, and he's a pretty good tackler himself. Here's the thing. We do need to recruit some safeties going forward in the future. We have Jonathan Leonard, we have Bobby Brown, and we also have James Will Smith coming up as a freshman, so we will need to recruit at that position, but maybe getting started with a good guy like him could help. Also, while watching that game, I kind of had my eye on a guy on the other side of the ball, which I didn't really realize until later in the game, and I saw him just pushing guys around. Richard Lane from Columbine, Colorado. Just keep your eyes on him. He is a kind of a guy that's under recruited, and he's an offensive lineman, so we're definitely going to have our shot at him. He is a senior, so we'll see. Now, I want to talk about a guy that is just, I mean, when I saw him play, I was like, what is he? He's an athletic freak. Is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he a safety? I don't know, but I'll just let the highlights talk for themselves. Here is Matt Pollard. So for most of the recruits that we're going to get, they're going to be mostly custom recruits. We are going to sprinkle in a little bit of the computer-generated guys, but not many. And here's the thing. I do want to add some more prospects from Colorado, but I'm only going to do that once a year. So there's only going to be 2 times when I add prospects to the board. And that's going to be week 1 when I do the custom recruits, and then week 8, I'd say, halfway through the season when we find out who did commit and who didn't commit at each position. So let's focus our recruits on the East Coast now. And we do have those connections coming from South Carolina. And there's a lot of guys we kind of left out to dry when we did leave for the drive. So we do want to check out a couple of these guys. So I want to start out in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach to be exact. And you see that last name, Armstead. And yeah, that's right. That's Danny Armstead's little brother. So he actually has an extra year of eligibility because he did graduate from high school a year ago. And he actually went to a prep school and played football. Very uncommon, but he does save 4 years of eligibility doing that. And he kind of had to do that because of his grades. His grades weren't the best, but he's kind of turned it around a little bit. But you can just see him play. I mean, look at this play. He's got some strength to him. He fights out of blocks, and he's a very unselfish defender. He takes on blocks when nobody else does. You know, a lot of people in high school, these are his highlights from high school, by the way, but you can just see, like, he just has strength. And a lot of guys will go through this block, and they'll try to run around him, but he goes through it. You see that push there, and that is just It's just a great sight to see. You can see he has great pass rush moves, and he's an unselfish guy on the field. Hopefully he can turn it around in the classroom, but if he does, he's going to be a star here. Speaking of guys who go through blocks, Terrence Miller is probably one of the most intriguing prospects I've ever seen. He is very, very under-recruited from Aiken, South Carolina, but he just goes through blocks. And it's interesting because he's not a guy who puts up any stats at all. I mean, he barely gets tackles each game, but you can just see him on each play. I mean, the potential is just there. And he did make all-city, first-team all-city, but no all-state honors, no all-district honors. He's been a letter for 3 years now. And here's the thing. I mean, he's just a treat to watch. I mean, look at him. I mean, he just goes through blockers, and look at him, gets after the quarterback, hits him there, and he's just a block shedding machine. He's 6'3", 286. That should just show you enough and tell you that, man, this guy is just going to be massive, and he's going to add more weight to his frame. He's going to add more strength. But I just like him. He goes through blockers. He takes on double teams. He's just a guy to watch out for with this recruiting class, and he's a guy that I'm going to build this line around. So let's move back to California for a second, because we're going to start to talk about the quarterback prospects that we do have on our board. But I got to talk about this local guy here in San Buenaventura, California, Jeffrey Pendleton. And this guy is 6'4", 201. He's a prototypical quarterback size, and he just has it all. I mean, honestly, the only knock against him is that he's played against weaker competition. He played in 2A in California, and he kind of dominated, to be honest. They never won the state championship, but I mean, when he plays, when he puts his film tape together, I mean, you just see nothing but accurate throws. He can throw the ball all depths, on the run, deep, short. Look at that. I mean, running out of bounds, running and throwing the ball 45 yards down the field. Look at this throw. I mean, it's just a perfect throw for a long touchdown on that one. I mean, you could see he sits in the pocket, finds his receiver. He does not lock onto one guy, and he finds his targets with accuracy. Here's the thing. He had a really good offensive line in California as well. And here's the thing. In college, that's not going to be there, especially not at San Jose State. He's going to have a weaker offensive line than he had in high school. He has all day to throw on a lot of these. And just getting the ball out, though, and on time and on target is definitely what I see with him. And it's definitely the anticipation that he has. It's just a treat to watch. He was a second-team All-State quarterback, first-team All-District. He's a number 83 ranked quarterback in the nation. He's got a lot of guys looking at him. I'm not sure we have a real legit shot at him, but it's worth the look for sure. So on our map, I want to move back to the East Coast now to talk about our other quarterback on the board at the moment. And this guy is kind of a shorter guy. He doesn't have the prototypical size, but he's Ray Reed from Kinston, North Carolina, 6'1", 198. And there's a big difference between him and Jeffrey Pendleton. I gotta admit, Jeffrey Pendleton is probably a step up from Ray Reed, but I like Ray Reed, just his football IQ. I mean, he doesn't have the arm strength, he doesn't have the elite accuracy, but he just has what you call that football savvy. I don't know what it is, but he's got it. And you can see he's got a little bit of mobility, but he's mostly a pocket passer. He's a game manager. He reminds me of Alex Smith, kind of a Sam Bradford type of mold. And I think that he might have a future with his team. But he's not the most skilled guy. And we're going to have to redshirt him for sure if we do get him to commit to San Jose State. But I like his potential for sure. And he's got Montel Aaron and as well Josh Love ahead of him. So he's got some years to learn from those guys. But right now, I just see him kind of as a red shirt coming into the next season. I don't think there's any question to that. And he's going to need some years to develop. But he's played pretty well versus the competition that he has. And I kind of like the way he just sits in the pocket and gets rid of the ball. He takes hits, but he's very, very confident with his arm. He does not hold back, even though he's not the most skilled guy. And he doesn't have the arm talent that maybe one of these elite guys have. He definitely is a guy that we want to keep our eye on. And hopefully, he commits to San Jose State and we can obviously develop him a little bit more than what he already is. So as you guys know, we do have California as our only pipeline state, so we're going to have to recruit pretty heavily here to take some of the recruits away from the bigger schools like Stanford, USC, UCLA, and all the rest of the California schools. But we have a couple of guys that kind of we have a leg up on the other teams, and these guys we got to really take advantage of. But first, let's check out some of these guys at receiver. First, starting with Raheem Akusi. So there is a family of brothers in San Jose, California that we do want to keep our eye on. There's 3 of them. The older one being Jamal Taylor. We're going to take a look at him. Jay Taylor being the junior running back. You can see his highlights right here. He is 5'8", 175, but he is a running back. So we do have a couple of years to recruit him. Hopefully we do get him to come to the school. The younger brother is only a sophomore, so we'll see some of him next year. And he's got a couple of years to grow. He's not on varsity just yet, so we're going to have to recruit him down the line. But we do want to keep an eye on little Jay Taylor here, 5'8". He's got some wheels. He's got a lot of acceleration. He doesn't really have the top end speed. You see him getting run down there, but he's definitely a guy we want to keep our eyes on. But the guy that we're really focused on, a hometown kid from San Jose. Let's check out Jamal Taylor. look at how these guys look on our recruiting board, starting with Joaden McElroy. He was our top recruit, but look at this. We're down by 1,000, and I'm not really sure if we really have a legit shot. He's a power back, but I just think he's out of our league right now. And like I said, we're a 1-star school, so going after 4 stars is probably unrealistic at this point, and it kind of shows here. I mean, we're down 1,000, kind of not in the race here, and it looks like he's maybe headed to Kansas State. So we're probably going to readjust those points and divvy those up to other guys. A guy that I did not cover in the highlights was Fabian McLeod, and kind of the reason why is because we were so far behind, 2,300 points from Miami, Florida. This was a guy that we carried over. We were scouting him at Coastal Carolina, and it just turned out that it's just too much for us. I mean, he's going to go to FAU, it looks like, and we didn't really have a shot there. Let's look at Jeffrey Pendleton, another guy. We kind of highlighted him as being one of our top recruits as well, but it looks like he's headed to UCLA. So I'm sure we will play him sometime in the future. I'm sure he's going to commit next week, it looks like. I mean, he's at 97%, and I just don't think we have a shot at him. But let's take a look at some guys we do have a shot at. This was kind of a guy that we had a chance at, and that it might turn out that he goes to our old school of Carolina, Coastal Carolina. Andre Armstead, the little brother of Danny Armstead, he's got some skills. You can see he's 69 overall. We don't have all of his skills unlocked, but it looks like he might be in a tight race with Coastal Carolina and us, so it's going to be close. We have a visit at week 11, and he's going to, after I remove the top 2 guys, he's going to be our top recruit. But let's look at Terrence Miller. Terrence Miller was a late add from Aiken, South Carolina, the number 95 D end, but he's a beast. He's got 80 block shedding, 68 overall right now. I think he's going to shape up to be a pretty good player. Hopefully we can add some more points to him, probably after removing those top 3 guys. So Jamal Taylor is the one guy that I would say that we have the biggest shot at getting right now. We're ahead by 1,000. We have a lot of extra points here in recruiting, and you can see the proximity to home is really, really important to him. So that's a good sign. It looks like we're gonna reel him in. You see his ratings here. He's 92 speed. Remember, one of the things we highlighted was his breakaway speed, and he's kind of bigger. I like him, but his catching's got to go up. It's only at 60, but I think we can improve that definitely. He's coming in at 63 overall. I don't know if he'll play the first year, but he's definitely a guy to keep your eye on. Kyle Little is another guy that we don't know if we'll have a shot at. And that's the thing about being a 1-star school and going after these realistic recruits. It looks like some of these guys just don't have our team in mind when choosing to go to a school, because look at Colorado State. They're ahead by 1,300. This is a guy we probably might remove as well. Remember, we're adding guys to the board probably around week 8, so that's the next time we'll adjust it as far as adding guys to the board. Raheem Akusi. This is another guy we might get. So we're heavy here at receiver. 2 receivers look like they're going to be the top 2 guys on our board that actually want to come to our school. But let's look at his ratings here. He's 70 catching, 84 speed. We thought he would be a little faster, but you know what? His high school speed doesn't really translate over to college. I'm sure that'll improve a little bit over the offseason, just getting stronger and adding some weight to him. He'll improve with his speed. But I like him right now. 70 catching will probably be our best catcher right now on the team. In 69 around, I think he can definitely improve there because he is explosive with the ball, and we are the only team to offer him a scholarship. But let's talk about a guy that I didn't highlight before, Parker Gast, our only recruit from Minnesota, Moorhead, Minnesota. We were recruiting him as a junior at Coastal Carolina, but he's coming over as a pretty good guy. I like him a lot, and I want to see what his zone coverage is going to be when I unlock it. I don't know what it's going to be, but he's got decent speed at 85, 87. He kind of reminds me of Xavier Davis a little bit, so we're going to be looking to get him. Ray Reed, we are actually in the lead for, and I expect him to probably commit to our school. He really likes our coach Jay, and I think that we do have a shot at him. Let's look at Matt Pollard, probably the most intriguing prospect. I have no idea why he's rated 63 overall, because if you look at his ratings here, I mean, look at his just ball carrying skills. I mean, he has great ball carrying skills. He actually has pretty good route running as well, 74 catching. And look at his speed to acceleration, 90 acceleration, 83 speed. I mean, that jumps off the screen to me, because if I can line him up at tight end, he's going to take off with the ball. A mismatch nightmare with linebackers, and his tackling is pretty good too. Remember, he does play both sides of the ball, so he's definitely somebody we want to keep our eye on. 72 play rec as well. Neil Bonds, a guy that we were recruiting at Coastal Carolina. I fully expect me to add some more points to him as well. You can look at him. He's 63 overall. If we do get him as a commit, I honestly think we're going to redshirt him, but he's pretty good. 81 power moves. I don't understand why these guys are coming in so low overall. I think they're going to end up being way better than what we see here. Emmanuel Thomas, another guy on our board at defensive end. We want to shore up that defensive end position, and we're in the lead for him out of Cerritos, California, the number 100 DN in the nation. 6'4", 242. He's going to get better. I kind of see him as a redshirt right now. Adam Clayton was a guy that we added to the board out of El Cajon, California, the number 140 defensive end. If we do end up getting him, he does have interest in us, and it looks like we're at 27% lock with only putting 50 points on him. I think it's a sure bet that he probably will commit to our school. Another guy out of Highland, California, Josh Hemphill. I really like him. He's a skilled guy, and I just like his all-around play here. He's projected to be C-man coverage, C-zone, and I think he's got a lot of potential at 90 speed, and especially lining him up with a lot of speed receivers that we're going to go up against in the West now. We're going to need him. Noah Ballesteros, correct me if I'm not saying that right, but was a custom recruit coming over from Coastal, but we're behind 1,000 points on him. I don't really know how we're gonna get him, to be honest. Nick Vogel, a guard here. He's first on. We're first on his list, and he's gonna. It looks like we're pretty much in the driver's seat for him, but we'll see going forward. Teddy Jones, another center here. I hope I can unlock him, and he will be above 70 overall. We'll see, but he'll be our only 70 overall commit that we'll have if we end up getting him, because it looks like the other guys might not make it up to 70 just quite yet early in this dynasty. So let's look at a couple of other defensive linemen. We do have a JUCO, Kellen Graham, coming over. I think we're in the lead for him, and it looks like he's pretty much locked in to come to our school. LaShawn Lee, another defensive tackle. We don't have anything unlocked for him, but we are kind of in the driver's seat right now with no points committed. Jeremy McGill, another defensive tackle. We do want to get these defensive tackles and see what we got with them. Mike High, a guard, 65 overall. I do want to put some more points on him. I'm intrigued by him, mostly because I see his pass block is at B, and I want to unlock his ratings. And then the last guy on our board, 23 guys total out of Thousand Oaks, California. We just did add him late, and we don't really know how good he's going to be, and I'm just interested to see how his ratings do unlock. So this is going to be our recruiting board going into this season. We are going to adjust it week 8, adding guys to the board. We're going to remove guys before that, probably with a couple guys up at the top. But right now, it just doesn't seem like we will be in the lead for any of these top guys. They're just a little bit too out of our league, and we'll have to be more realistic with going after recruits. So let me know what you guys think of some of these freshmen. Like I said, it's not going to be a strong recruiting year, but we do have some guys that could make a difference, mainly being these three right here in the middle. Jamal Taylor, Terrence Miller, and Andre Armstead. I don't know which ones will play first year if they do commit to our school, but I'd say the one guy that probably has a bigger chance of starting first year is Matt Pollard. He's just too polished as an all-around athlete. I got to get him on the field. So let me know what you guys think. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. We're going back into some more action next week, opening up Mountain West Conference play. So stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.